Let's get sweaty.
Hello and welcome to the Shenmue Dojo Show Christmas Special 2024 for RadioSEGA's Winterfest 2024. I am James Brown and I'm joined as ever by Mr. Festive Cheer himself, Matthew Oliver. How's it going, mate?
Hey man, how you doing? All good.
Doing well, thank you. Yeah, feeling festive, Matt?
Yes, we've started Christmas shopping. I say started, nearly finished it now. Actually, Christmas
Really?
trees up.
This early?
Yeah, the wife's nuts. She had it all done by October, pretty much.
You haven't bought a turkey yet, though, have you?
Oh God, no, none of that. No. The food's still to be done, but like the Christmas trees up, the ceiling decorations are up.
Nice.
Yeah, we're getting ourselves all set for Christmas. Looking forward to it. Yourself?
Yeah, well, Christmas trees are up, all the decorations are up. My daughter's looking forward to it. Spent a fortune. I was waiting till Black Friday actually to buy all the Christmas presents, thinking, okay, you get some of them cheaper, and honestly, none of them were any cheaper. It's just a big swizz, isn't it, Black Friday?
Yeah, it is a bit now.
In fact, the big present that I was going to buy her, which is like this Munster High, sort of like a doll's house thing, it was actually cheaper about a month ago, and we were looking at it and we could have just bought it, and I was like, well, let's just wait till Black Friday, it might be even cheaper. I can't see it going up. It actually went up 30 quid, so
Cheeky buggers.
yeah, they are, aren't they? So I think that Black Friday, I don't know how it is in America. We might have to ask George in a moment when we get to George's introduction. But yeah, crazy. Other than that, Matt, yeah, just sitting here drinking a bit of avocat. Have you ever had that before?
No, what is it?
It's kind of like eggnog, a bit more custardy looking.
Okay.
But it's got like the flavour of eggnog. I just poured myself a little glass of it. Just, I don't know, I thought it might get us in the Christmas spirit, considering we're still about 3 weeks away from Christmas, so...
Why not?
Why not? Oh, Matt, actually, did you hear that Wan Chai Football Club appointed a new manager the other day?
No, who's this?
I think his name's Wood van Nistelrooy. Got me Christmas jokes
here we go
as per, guys, which I know you love, George, puns and stuff. So yeah, joining us for a second year in a row and starting a yearly tradition now at this point, putting the dreams into your Saturn. It's the nightmare fuel-inducing George Kitchen. How's it going, buddy?
So I would have laughed at the joke, but I thought I was supposed to stay quiet until my intro.
You can laugh now if you want. Do you know who Ruud van Nistelrooy is?
I didn't actually hear the joke very well. I was going to laugh out of respect.
Okay.
Can you repeat the joke again?
So I said, oh, hey, Matt, did you hear that Wan Chai Football Club appointed a new manager the other day? Yeah, I think his name was Wood van Nistelrooy.
I don't get it.
Okay. I think you need to know who Ruud van Nistelrooy is first. He's just taken over as Leicester manager, is it, Matt, or something?
Yeah, Leicester manager, yeah.
So very topical.
Oh, so is it English Soccer League?
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Premier League? Yeah.
I think he was managing Man United or something for a couple of games, sort of like an assistant manager. Quite a big name, popular, like a player back in the day. But yeah, thanks for laughing, if you did. I don't know.
Yeah. I'll just take your word for it. Again, I think I said it before, Crystal Palace is my favorite Premier League team. Couldn't tell you one player on there. I just like the name.
Very good, very good. They are in the Premier League, aren't they, still? Crystal Palace,
Yes,
I think. So
yes, they are, by the skin of their teeth.
you're doing okay there, George, supporting them?
I don't know how they're doing.
Yeah, I think they're a bit low, maybe low in the table, but yeah, I don't really follow the Premier League. With obviously my team's in the Championship, so it's a different kettle of fish, right, Matt?
Yeah, and supporting a team that...
I thought there was no winner to the Premier League, or like there was no championship. It was just best record was the winner. Am I wrong?
So you're getting confused by the way the leagues are structured. So the Premier League's the top league with 20 teams. Whoever wins that's the most points at the end of the season. Then the Championship is a division below it, so lesser standard in theory. And then James's team are in that league, and the team that I support are in the same league this year.
And we could, like, if you finish in the top 7-ish, there's a chance of getting into the Premier League again.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah, so you either move up or down. So we could be facing Crystal Palace next year, maybe.
Is,
one of our teams.
Is Sheffield considered a Premier team?
There's 2 Sheffield teams, and they're both in the Championship. So no.
So, as an American, I would say the only reason I know the Sheffield soccer team is because of the tragic story, which you both probably know well.
Sheffield Wednesday, the Hillsborough stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only reason most Americans will ever know the name Sheffield, because of that terrible fire that happened.
Yeah.
Not to change the mood. I don't mean to ruin the mood, but I'm just saying.
Well, let's keep the festive cheer going, guys. So George has joined us once again this Christmas to talk more Dreams of Saturn. But a year on from its original release, the fan game returns with a more refined, updated version featuring a wealth of brand new content to sink your teeth into. We're of course talking about Dreams of Saturn 2.0, and after watching the trailer for the game the other night, Matt, we look to be in for a real treat. Which, can we just talk about that trailer for a moment? Like, that was unexpectedly brilliant, right?
Yeah, so both of us went in completely blind on it, apart from the first 10 seconds, because I had to do a sound test before stream, because I didn't want to sit there trying to be like, oh shit, try and work this out in a stream. Brilliant trailer. Very tongue-in-cheek in parts. Has some nice serious touches in there as well. I thought the fight choreography looked absolutely brilliant with the QTEs and everything.
Brutal as well. Some of the kicks to the faces.
Like Rio gives somebody a big boot to the face, and he falls off this top of these like crates or whatever, and it looks like no one kills him. Some of it's honestly brilliant, and then seeing Santa try to stop a missile at the end. Oh man, that brilliant trailer. Loved every second of it, and the reaction to it's been brilliant on social media, on our YouTube since as well. People are buzzing around it, really, really buzzing, and actually are taking it for what it is, which is a fan game. It's not canon necessarily, but it's made with passion. There's some really good heartfelt stuff in there as well, and it's tongue-in-cheek, and it's a good laugh, and that's what you want at Christmas. I thought it was a perfect introduction into Dreams of Saturn 2.
Right. And the thing is also, like, the choreography, it's a little bit violent for this, what we're used to, but I still think that it felt Shenmue appropriate when I was making it, and I don't think anyone's really going to complain that much on that, honestly. I think it's all those years of watching Jackie Chan films in the 70s and 80s films that I've always admired the violent way that the people would land, even though it was done by a stunt crew that were professionals. They had a way of making their films just the choreography, the stuntmen, just the brutal landings they took. I could name about 20 of these films, the police story films in particular.
Jackie Chan's unbelievable, wasn't he?
Armor of God, Drunken Master 1 and 2, Miracles. These are all films that just, the stunt teams, the way they landed, they just knew how to sell a good kick, and I watched those forever, and I think that kind of helped me a little bit in designing these somewhat brutal finish moves.
Yeah, some of the stunts like Jackie Chan performed, I always think, because I watched this film like so many times as a kid, but Rumble in the Bronx, when you actually see within the credits, they show like all the bloopers and stuff, and Jackie Chan actually jumped from like whatever story building to another story building into the footwell of this doorway area, broke his foot or broke his leg or whatever, and he actually did a lot of the film with a cast on his leg and sort of like a fake shoe and a fake sock to make it look like it was just his normal leg. It's just insane, some of the damage that these guys went through, and now obviously everything's CGI these days, and there's a real lack of stunt talent like that these days. But back in the day when they did all their own stunts and stuff like that, and they were acting and they were doing all this martial arts moves and stuff, it's just unbelievable. I think that is like an era that's kind of gone. I don't know. How do you go about finding the latest martial arts films these days? Do they still make stuff like that or not? I don't know.
I'm guessing they do.
The last person that was really focused on real martial arts in films was the Ip movie films.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
And even him, I think he's in his 60s now, Donnie Yen.
Yeah. I
think he's 61 years old. So I don't know. Yeah, there's a liability of even like Jackie Chan film. By the time we got to Rumble in the Bronx, it was quite a tame version of Jackie Chan's films. But if you go back and and watch some of his old stuff from the 70s and 80s, they are much more violent. And the stunt team, you watch a guy fall from 35 feet or 35 yards, not yards, meters. I'm trying to speak British here.
Miles.
But he would land right on his neck, and you'd just say, well, how did he survive that? And or if he was in, but they wear coated armors. They used mattresses in the dirt and silent failure type thing. So,
but they did break like most bones in the body, right? Like Jackie Chan, I think, broke most of his bones in his body over his career.
He broke his neck when he fell off a bell tower once, and you can find that on YouTube. And the second worst one was when he was sliding down a pole in Police Story. He melted the skin off of his hands.
Ouch.
Actually, in Armor of God, he also penetrated his brain, his skull.
What?
So those were the three worst ones he ever had.
It's insane, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Right. Well, before we delve into George's latest project, anyway, let's turn our attention quickly to some of the more recent Shenmue news, Matt.
Yes, let's do it.
So we're going to start talking about Shenmue and Saturn's. Shenmue on the Saturn, Matt.
Yes, we haven't found it, unfortunately. Not quite there. But it's as close as we've got. So Frogbull, who is well known in the Sega Saturn community for taking games and essentially getting them running on Saturn, like stock Saturn. So I think he's done Crash Bandicoot, and I want to say Metal Gear Solid 1 as well. It's got them running on Saturn hardware. It's got them running. Has then decided for the Saturn's 30th anniversary, and it also quite ties in nicely with Shenmue as well. He's decided to get Shenmue running on the Sega Saturn. I don't know how he's done it. I haven't got a clue. So if you're out there, let us know how you've done it. But essentially what he's done, he's got the U Arcade, demade it into Sega Saturn, and you can see Rio sort of wandering around. You can play some of the arcade games there. So you've got the Master System version of Space Harrier and Hang On, which are actively playable. QTE title works as well. It hasn't got the animations, but it doesn't matter. And do you know what? Actually, it captures that Saturn aesthetic when you look at the Saturn video, the Saturn footage that we got way back when. You would think it was lifted directly out of that game. That's how good it looks. Apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, but there was talk there might be a playable demo out at some stage. So hopefully so. And on top of that, there's also a Shenmue quiz coming out on the Saturn on Christmas Eve as well.
Oh yeah, we did speak a little bit about that, didn't we, in the previous show?
We did.
But yeah, when's that scheduled for, Matt? Was that
Christmas Eve? I've done a bit of testing on it. It runs really well. You can run it on a stock Saturn, or you can run it on various emulators as well.
Cracking stuff. Been trying to find this holy grail of Shenmue on the Saturn, and then we get 2 Shenmue-esque games on the Saturn. So not the holy grail, but really great fan games to sort of look forward to there, guys. Right, next up, Den of Geek. Peter actually brought attention to this the other day in a little bit of like a Shenmue WhatsApp group we've got going. But yeah, Matt, I didn't actually notice this, but they've ranked the 25 best Sega Dreamcast games. And I guess, where did Shenmue come in? You can tell us.
Wow. Shenmue came in. Finally. They've floated it around for a few years now. It's finally been rated number 1 as the best Dreamcast game ever by Den of Geek.
And so it should be, eh?
Yes, absolutely right as well. I'm glad they're now converted to our way of thinking.
Yeah, very good. So we'll link that article below. And obviously you can see all the top 25 Dreamcast games that they've ranked. And they actually grouped Shenmue 1 and 2. It's cheating a little bit, I think, but...
Yeah, it is a tiny bit, isn't it?
It's the number 1 ranking, but I do not disagree with them. Next up, Matt, Shenmue Speedrun. Have you got the details on this one?
Right, so at Awesome Games Done Quick 2025, Maxi Lobes is going to be speedrunning any percent time skip Shenmue with a target of 3 hours and 20 minutes. That's the entire of Shenmue 1. So that is on Tuesday, the 7th of January at 7:04 a.m. in the morning, which I'm gathering is Eastern time, but I could be very wrong on that. Let me just double check to make sure I am not going absolutely insane. No, actually, it's 7 in the morning UK time. So if you want to watch it, you might be able to, judging by the little toggle the website's got, which says I can use my time zone. So I have, and there you go.
Very good. Yeah, you can watch it over a bowl of cornflakes, maybe.
That'd be quite good. So the target's 3 hours 20. That's going to be interesting.
Hopefully you can do it, and yeah, we'll report back on that when we've seen the speed run and the success. Hopefully that maybe you can meet the time that he wants to do it in. Fingers crossed.
Try and drop in and watch some of that, I think.
Sounds good. Matt, moving on now. We kind of need to talk about this billboard adventure, right? So this is slightly disappointing. Obviously, if you've been following the dojo, you may have heard us talking about this big event that we had planned for the 4th of December. Obviously, the big one to sort of tail off a great year of the hashtag Let's Get Shenmue 4. 4th of every month we've been campaigning, and this was going to be the big one. And we both sort of took annual leave as such to get down to Brentford, where the Sega Europe offices are. And what did we find, Matt?
Unfortunately, absolutely nothing. Which it sounds like we're joking about it. We're not. We're still investigating what's happened at the time of recording this show, and I have had correspondence with the account manager there, who's looking into it for us. But yes, having expected to go down there, and you can watch the video that James put together. Pretty much edited that on the fly in my car when we were driving around. We'd have expected to see it at some point, either when we were driving past it or certainly when we were on the ground at the time, when we sat there for a good hour, and it didn't show up, unfortunately. So it didn't go quite to plan, because I think had it done, I'd have given the numbers we had on the tweetathon that day, and this is then sort of a positive spin on it. We had over 11,000 posts across the day.
That's mad.
On the tweetathon with the hashtag Let's Get Shenmue 4. The biggest trend was just under 8,900 posts in the evening, which is mad. Every month we've gone bigger and bigger and bigger, and what we wanted with this billboard was to then push it into viral territory, and then I really think that would have been a proper marker in the sand. It didn't happen that way. We're still looking at what happened going forward with it. But it's still a very positive end to the year, with the tweetathon getting bigger and bigger and bigger as well. Obviously, with in-games coming on board, which we'll talk about in a bit, I'm sure. And just to reassure everybody, we haven't run off with anybody's money. We are looking into it and trying to work out what's gone on with this. And once we get a resolution, obviously we'll let people know what's going on. But hopefully the magazine Shenmue World issue 3, which I unboxed on stream recently, will more than make up for the £2 difference, but we are going to keep pushing for it, because at the end of the day, whatever happens, money's been spent and we want to know what's happened. Yeah,
for sure. I'm kind of glad in a sense that we actually documented the journey and showed like the time difference. Obviously you can tell that the time has changed. It's like starts off bright and goes pitch black. So we were there for 3+ hours really in the end, and didn't see the billboard once. So I think that should hopefully be more than enough proof that we deserve like a refund at least, or something, right?
or some sort
of resolution, like you say. But yeah, we won't dwell on it at the moment, guys, but we are very sorry that ended up being the case like that. It wasn't obviously our intentions, and we are trying our best to rectify it as soon as possible. Next up, you did briefly there mention the sort of the in publishing deal. We talk a little bit about that in a moment, but I just want to get this out here first, that there's actually a survey that's gone up today as time of recording. Hopefully it's still available when you're listening to this show and you can take part in it if you haven't already. But it's essentially a Shenmue 3 survey, and in games are actually requesting some information from you. First, what platform would you like to see Shenmue 3 be re-released on? So I think the options are Apple Mac, Nintendo Switch, Xbox, and PS5. So they're
That's
obviously
correct,
interested in making like a PS5 upgraded version, perhaps. I'm not sure. And the second question is, what graphics or performance upgrades would you like to see? Which is an interesting question. It was a hard sort of thing to know what to put for that one, actually, but with it asking you for graphics as such, because actually the graphics are really, I still think, hold up. They look incredible, really, don't they? Especially the location graphics and stuff like that. So I'm not sure if the wording of that question is written in a way that's easily answerable, if that's a word.
Yeah, and I've done a video on it as well, just quickly to get it out to everybody who obviously needed to work out what was in there. And I think they caveat things, don't they, in it, saying that there's it's still very, very early doors with what's going on. So I do think they've deliberately chosen the questions very carefully, the one being platform, which is the biggest one. And I put in my survey as well, in the graphical bit, it needs to be everywhere, not just PlayStation 5 or whatever. It needs to be on PS5, Switch, Xbox. It needs to be everywhere. Let's get it everywhere, because the bigger the market, the more chance you have of people picking it up and enjoying it. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. With obviously Shenmue 1, 2, and 3, you can get on PlayStation consoles. Same with PC. So that's fine to a point. You don't really need to expand that market outside of maybe some graphical changes on PlayStation 5 and take advantage of the console hardware there. But on Xbox, you can only play Shenmue 1 and 2, and Switch, you can't play any of them. So for Xbox, it makes sense. They port it over, and then you've got 1, 2, and 3 on that console. Brilliant. But with Switch, it becomes a bit strange that you put 3 on there, and I really do think they should. I think the amount of people that have a Switch and potentially a Switch 2 when that comes out, the market's huge. But then I think also you need Shenmue 1 and 2 on there at the same time, or very shortly after, or line it up so it happens together. Because actually, I think the Switch market is that sort of market that could potentially really get into Shenmue, enjoy Shenmue, and having all 3 games on there maybe released together, if you could get Sega on board to do it, I think it's money left on the table. I don't really know why they haven't before, but there we are. So it's an important survey. The last question's interesting. They asked about your favourite Shenmue moment. I think whether that's going to feed into what they're thinking about for any like celebrations for the 25th, I don't know. It's just me guessing at this point in time. But they're very broad questions, and I think that's very, very deliberate, because they stress that it's very early doors in the survey. But I would stress to the community to respond to it if it's still open by this point, because it is an opportunity to shape a little bit of what happens with Shenmue 3 going forward. As I say, get it on every platform, and it should have been done yesterday. And then what happens with it in terms of wider things, I don't know. But I've got a good feeling here, and I keep saying this, I'm going to say it again, this time it just feels a little bit different.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually, and we'll direct that to George now. So, obviously, this NN deal's kind of just happened recently, George, but what are your thoughts and feelings about this? Are you positive? Do you reckon this is a good, right move for Shenmue moving forward, or is it just more of a flash-in-the-pan moment for Shenmue 3? What do you think?
Boy, that's a hard question for me to answer. I think that when a lot of people are saying things like, well, maybe they'll add missing content from Shenmue 3, like Baisha Village, or other aspects of the story that could have been done. I think that that's a little bit exaggerated in possibilities. I think that most of it's like going to be quality of life changes that they're reaching out to us for our opinions. Am I wrong to think that people that they're not going to add content to the story? Am I wrong in thinking?
It's hard. It's hard, isn't it? Because I think quality of life stuff you can do with a port, can't you? But something like broader changes in terms of story content, in terms of new areas, it then verges into, is there a lot of point doing it? Because actually, should you not be picking that up with the Shenmue 4? And is that going to expand the market enough? It changes to Shenmue 3 to make a Shenmue 4 justifiable. So it's a tricky field, I think, to be in at this point.
What's tricky is, how do they then market that? So say if they did re-add Baisha, obviously if anyone doesn't really know what Shenmue 3 is as a game, and they check the internet for reviews, they're going to be reading these 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10s of reviews from people that played the base game back in the day. How can they market if they do end up adding new content and they call it like the definitive edition, etc. like that? How can they then get that information out there that in fact it pretty much voids all reviews again, because all of these things have been fixed now? So any negatives you were reading in reviews are no longer present in the game, and there's in fact more content, there's more story, etc. If that was to happen, that might be quite difficult to get that information across. I'm not sure.
It's hard, isn't it?
I honestly think that they're reaching out to the community is just for their opinions of things that they can improve that were quality of life, things like stamina, or the presentation of things, and menus, save systems, stuff like that they can go in and change those things. But to create new content, I didn't read their article as potentially creating new things story-wise.
Yeah, not ambitious. It's as such. It's just just simple fixes that they can maybe do before slapping it on a disc again.
The thing is, I always approach this news and anything like this with a grain of salt and anticipating never to get my hopes higher than what's. We always have these ideas that we have in our heads that we would love to see, but realistically, they're taking on quite a risk here by taking on Shenmue 3 and trying to re-release it on a system, and they may not come out profitable. So I doubt that they're going to throw a lot of money at it. I mean, there's lots of games out there that have been released 5 years ago that can be re-released. And Shenmue is just one of many games, unfortunately, at this point that kind of just, they're just sitting there, and none of them are huge money makers. And so it's just, I think part of the reason this man is interested in doing this, the person that's head of that company, is because he's a Shenmue fan.
Yeah.
But I don't see the potential. Yeah. I don't see a huge money market for him going for this game. I wish I'm trying to be as partial as I can. Obviously, I'm going to say, of course there is. Shenmue's the best game of all time. Of course it's going to sell. Well,
yeah.
In a business sense, you have to prove that.
True. Yeah. It's very, very true. And I think they're quite careful to manage that expectation a little bit in the language they've been using since the original announcement, where I think people got a little bit excited, including everybody around the table, I think. But they've been very careful to say, look, things are very in the early doors. We don't really know what's happening yet. This survey is it almost acts as like a very sort of tentative step forward, shall we say. But what I think is different here is, as George has alluded to, the guy at the top of this is a big Shenmue fan. He loves Shenmue. He loves Yu Suzuki's work in general. So there's going to be a passion towards it that I think gives it a really good opportunity if they can make it work in terms of the business side of things. And that's the hard bit, making it work from a business perspective. We're all biased. We like Shenmue and have been around it for years. But the history would tell us that it struggled to make money. I know the original game on Dreamcast didn't. We know that. Shenmue 3, we know from years gone by, but going back all the way back to the 2020 financials from Embracer Group, said it was financially fine, so it clearly made some money, but maybe not to the level they wanted. I don't know what the targets would have been. So there's always that asterisk over Shenmue as a whole. Is there enough from a money-making standpoint, a business standpoint, to make it viable to push this thing forward? Find that middle ground, and I think we're in business, but finding that middle ground's the hard bit.
Yeah, I do think we're in fairly decent hands with in games. I feel like especially the community is more excited about this than even when Deep Silver came on board. I didn't really see the same sort of levels of excitement as we're getting with the in, whether it's because it's been a 5-year sort of period of not knowing where the series is heading, and it's obviously been a bit rejuvenated again with this news.
True.
So that could be a factor, but I do think with things are looking up again with this news, and I guess my original question for George was are you hopeful that this could be the turning point that leads to a potential Shenmue 4? Is this the deal breaker now? Is this the company that could get behind the future of the series?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm not trying to sound cynical. I definitely think that they will, if they release it on Xbox and anywhere else. I actually haven't been paying too close attention to it, so I'm not entirely sure what they've promised people, but I will say that if they see that there is a market at all, he seems the type of person who's willing to compromise his income just for the passion of wanting to see it. I mean, it's how I can relate to this person 100%. I'm making a video game right now, and I'm going into a bit of debt to do it because it's a passion project. I'm not patting myself on the back, by the way. It's just I don't care about the money aspect of it. I don't care about making money when it comes to passions, and this is what I love. And I think this guy's a big enough Shenmue fan where, even if it's a small profit, I think that he would want to support Yu Suzuki, and even if the game's not to the scale that they can afford, if they're happy enough with the results of a re-release, and I think that they would publish it with a caveat that it's not going to be a hugely produced game. And nowadays, a lot of people don't need copies of the disc. They can put it on Steam, and it's better than nothing. And I'll take it. So
Yeah, agreed. Good points there, George. Right, let's move on with the show anyway. Yeah, but very good news from in games there, and I think all three of us are very hopeful that this is going to turn into something can definitely get behind and get more Shenmue out of. Fingers crossed. We'll see what happens.
You're listening to Radio Sega, and this is our Winterfest weekend. Check out our full programming schedule at radiosega.net.
Anyways, guys, I've got a box of 3 Shenmue Dojo Christmas crackers. Which I'm thinking about last year, George. You didn't. I don't think you realised what a Christmas cracker was, right? Because you were on about actual crackers, like we put butter on or cheese or something, right?
I think I'm still lost. I haven't caught up to this yet.
See, I didn't realise this was like an English tradition. I don't know if it is or not, but do you not have crackers, or maybe they're called something else, where you pull both ends and inside there's like a joke, a hat, like maybe a pair of nail clippers? Which I know saying that out loud sounds funny, but
we call them
a little pack of screwdrivers.
Cracker Jack prizes. Is that what?
Really? Okay.
Oh, okay.
Could be the same thing. I mean, the word cracker's there, so.
Well, we're Americans, so all we eat is cold cereal. So a lot of our cold cereals used to have prizes in them when I was a kid, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, we do kind of do have like children's cereal might have like a toy inside, but these crackers are just only Christmas, and like actual shops sell boxes of 12, for example. And you have them around the table while you're eating your turkey dinner. It's like a cracker in front of the plate, and then you pick it up, give it to like a family member. They hold one end, you hold the other, and you both pull at the same time. And whoever gets the biggest end of the cracker, because there's like an actual cracking, like a firecracker sort of thing inside, makes a bang. Whoever gets the bigger end essentially wins the cracker with all the stuff in, like the hat, the party hat, the nail clippers.
Is this like a wishbone kind of thing too?
I guess it is, yeah. I honestly didn't realize it wasn't in America.
Well, it could be. I just don't. My family doesn't exactly get together during the holidays, so I can't speak for my own family. So,
okie dokie. Well, we've got these pretend crackers anyway. You can kind of hear them in the background there. A couple of jokes inside this one.
No,
I don't even know if they're that funny this year. You know, I'm reading them.
They weren't funny last year.
I think I've read them too many times that I don't even know if they're that good. But let's see. So Matt can take this one. So knock knock.
Who's there?
You wonder.
Oh my god. You wonder who?
No, not who. It's Zoo.
Oh my days.
Boo. Okay, this is a good one though. This is a genuinely good one. I was quite pleased with this one. What is Tao-san's favourite film trilogy? The Three Blades.
All right.
Oh dear.
I'll give you that one.
Okay, guys. Right, we're going to play some music that George has kindly let us play. Do we have? We don't know the name of the song, but it's a song composed by Richard, right, George?
Yep, Richard Cartlidge, one of your own Brits that I had to rely on for music.
Right, welcome back. That was a song composed for Dreams of Saturn. Is that just specifically 2.0? That song, that
Yeah,
piece?
this is a song that we'll be playing when things start to get a little bit tense and the stakes are a little bit higher and some of the jokes go away.
The more serious parts of the game.
There's only a few.
Right. Does look hilarious, by the way. So let's get into, we're going to sort of quiz you a bit now, George. We're going to interview you on Dreams of Saturn as a whole. We're going to start way back a year ago now. We're going to take your mind back to when you actually released Dreams of Saturn 1.0 at this point. Obviously, as the game creator, you were probably, I don't know where your expectations were. We discussed a little bit that, perhaps you don't like to take praise all that well, and I don't know if you're expecting a lot of praise at the time, or maybe you're more liable to see the flaws in the game or whatever, and gets in your head that it's not a good product as such. But then obviously the question that I'm going to pose to you here is, were you surprised by the reception to the game when it was released? You've got these streamers playing your game, Brutal Moose, Maximilian Dude, and that must be overwhelming to see, right? They're actually playing your game in front of, like, what was it, like 20,000 viewers or something for the Maximilian Dude stream, if not
Uh,
more.
I think it was more like 15,000. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, but that's crazy, right? And they're actually loving what they're seeing. So how did you take that at the time?
Well, I mean, honestly, I was asleep when that happened, and when I woke up, I had a bunch of unread messages from people saying, "Hey, Maximilian Dude is playing your game," and I've been a follower of his channel for I don't know 10 years, and so when I saw that, instantly my stomach sank because I had yet to this point hear of anyone beating the game. This was only like 2 days into releasing it, so it's not like it was well after. I hadn't really uh, I wasn't sure yet it could be beaten. And when you're making a game for the first time, it only takes like one door that you forgot to put a trigger on, and then now somebody can't walk through the door, making it impossible now to beat the game. So when I turned it on, I wasn't sure if I was going to be seeing him laughing at it and everyone going, "Look how broken this is," and I just didn't. I had no clue. So I got to a point where he says, "This is exactly what I wanted for Christmas. I just wanted to run around Debuita." He just kept saying nice things about it, and I was just shocked. But he wasn't saving the game, and he had been playing for almost 45 minutes. And I'm just like, "Please don't break. Please don't break here. Please don't break here." And I'm just waiting for it to stop working. Or he gets stuck somewhere in a building and then goes, "Well, that was fun for 45 minutes, but it's broken," and then close the stream or move on to something else. But it never happened. And he just kept finding things. He found the golf game, which was, it references like a bunch of Sega history. And he could have easily not have found that, but he did. And so each new golf hole was a Sega reference, and the chat was loving it. They're like, "Well, let's go to the next hole. Go to the next hole. I want to see what the next Sega reference is." And it went on to Knights, to Streets of Rage, to Super Monkey Ball, Skies of Arcadia, and the chat room, the people were saying stuff like, "I literally have tears in my eyes right now," and it's just like, why? I'm like, why would you have tears in your eyes? But the thing is, these are like Skies of Arcadia. It just hasn't been relevant in 20 years. And I'm just like, well, no, the game came out like 5 years ago, didn't it? I'm like, wait a minute, I'm 44 years old. 1999 and 2000 was a long time ago, George. And so it's been a forgotten game. We're going on 25 years now. So when people see it, whether they don't know that I'm a hack developer, they think it's a game that was made by somebody who's really skilled, maybe a studio of some kind. And they think that they just get excited to see Skies of Arcadia again. And so I got more out of that than anything. So
Yeah.
I almost threw up like 5 times regardless, but it was very special and it made it all worthwhile. Obviously, you two playing it would have made it worthwhile, but that was just icing on the cake.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, we had a whale of a time. I know.
Oh, it was great fun.
I obviously more Shenmue is amazing anyway, and it is essentially a Shenmue game in the look and feel of it, because obviously it's based on Shenmue 1's Yokosuka, and all of the Sega references that you mentioned there, like you've got your Echo Lucky Hit type of machine, and like just some of the Lucky Hit boards as well in that area, the cassette tapes. I quite enjoyed hunting them, and I still never found them all. Some of them must have been really well hidden. But then you also went out your way to like design the interiors of places that you would never even have seen before, like the inside of people's houses, and actually that was a lot of awesome stuff that you would only ever expect to see from an actual Shenmue fan, which is why it was so great. And I think taking Maximilian Dude and his audience, for example, who probably absolutely adore the Dreamcast, and seeing all these Dreamcast references and actually seeing like Shenmue from a fan's passionate aspect as such, and seeing like all the detail that you've actually put or added into little areas like that, like the interiors of houses and rooms and stuff like that. It's just, how could you not enjoy it? How could you not love that? And that's kind of what makes Dreams of Saturn 2.0 even more exciting now as well, because you've added the harbour onto this, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But from the trailer alone, I can just tell it's. I was not expecting the 2.0 version of the game to be expanded so much. Was thinking like maybe what we were saying about in games in Shenmue 3, are they just going to go for quality of life improvements? But this is like, it's almost like a fresh looking game to me. It's like a new game, which is very exciting as well. But yeah, so fan reception, very highly positive. I don't think I saw anyone who was disappointed with the game, to say the least. Maybe one person.
Wow, you can't please everyone, can you, in life? But I think universally across the Shenmue community, it was universally praised, and a lot of people enjoyed their time with it. I went back to it sort of not just at Christmas, but obviously through the year. I've gone back to it, I've dabbled around, played with it again, and I think it's then spawned. I know there's been fan projects running for years, but the release of Dreams of Saturn has then spawned other fan projects as well, in terms of, obviously, we had the Chobi-chan game earlier in the year. We've obviously got the Sega Saturn quiz coming out at Christmas. We've also got DOS 2, and also, Reclaiming the Path, which is a much bigger project, which we'll sort of come on to. And it then, I guess, then leads into a little bit the next question, George. Obviously, we've touched on Dreams of Saturn 2 and Reclaiming the Path, but why take on two projects at the same time when you've got such a plethora of skills there? Why do two of these games rather than just focusing on, say, Reclaiming the Path, which obviously we had the trailer in, I want to say, April this year, and again universally praised by everybody. So why go back to Dreams of Saturn and do this 2.0 version?
Well, it's actually a pretty simple answer on this one. When the game was finished, I saw a lot of people say, so did he get a Saturn or not? Because all he does is walk back home with his father, but there's no scene of him actually picking up the Saturn again and bringing it back home. And so I left it slightly unfinished. And as I was learning things, I was thinking back to Dreams of Saturn. I'm just like, I want to go back and fix this about that, because now I'm learning how to do stuff even better. And the second thing is, Reclaiming the Path doesn't have an audience yet, or people that have actually played it and enjoyed it and streamed it, but Dreams of Saturn does. And I don't know, I got hundreds of messages from people asking about the game and asking about how they can play it, because they've never played a Shenmue game before. So there's already people that are interested in the game. And by September, I just said, well, I want to go back to it and make it a finished game for those people, because there's already people that want to stream it again or play it again. And so that there's already, I'm not going to say a market because it's a free game, but there's already people who are, I guess, technically fans of the game. But Reclaiming the Path is not a finished game yet, and who knows if anyone's going to actually want to play it. So why walk away from something that's already, got a backing? And so I decided to focus on trying to fix the problems with the first one and finish the story with the second. And I know what's going to happen next year. I'm going to be so sick of this. I'm already sick of it, of this game. I'm burned out, and I'm working on it while we're talking, and I'm just so sick of looking at Rio's face. But next September is going to come around again. I'm going to say, well,
3.0.
There's problems with this one too, and I'm going to want to fix that back up again. Because people are going to want to play this game maybe 5 years from now, and why not just keep working on it and make it a complete game that 5 years from now it'll just keep having little tweaks in there, here and there, and eventually become like a really full game that I can be proud of actually putting together.
That is really cool to hear. And obviously you briefly touched upon, as you've been working on Reclaiming the Path, you've had these ideas to go back to Dreams of Saturn, and I guess use some of what you've been doing with Reclaiming the Path on Dreams of Saturn. So is that the case? Is it like you were working through Reclaiming the Path, and obviously you're a bit more familiar with the tools of the software that you're using? Is then that allowed you to think like, oh God, I wish I could go back to Dreams of Saturn and apply what I'm learning here to that game. Why can't I? Christmas is approaching. Let me go do that. Is that kind of your thinking?
That was exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, because
Cool.
because this is also a good testing ground for Reclaiming the Path, because I'm using a lot of things in Dreams of Saturn 2 that I'm going to be using Reclaiming the Path, and I'll get some good feedback, because the trailer shows off the funny parts and the exciting parts, but I've got probably 6 quests in it, or and not called quests in Shenmue, but like notebook things where you have to go around talking to people, trying to find the right person with information, and that's a lot of, for streamers, it's going to be, well, I don't want, this is not what I wanted. I wanted the action. But I think real Shenmue fans, or not real Shenmue fans, but those who don't mind the slow moving around, getting clues scenarios in their game, and it'll get good feedback if people like that. If they don't like it, then I'll try to reduce it for Reclaiming the Path. And also the third person controls. I've never, again, this is my first game I've ever made, or technically second, if you count the Dreams of Saturn 1, and I've never put third person in a game before. I might watch people playing it, and they press the jump button and he flies into a wall, gets stuck, and I'm like, well, it didn't happen on my computer, but it may happen to everybody else. I don't know. So sure, I'm going to have testing done, but I need to see people playing it and know if this is going to work or not. I've never tried it. So yeah, it's a good testing ground.
Good stuff. So people that played Dreams of Saturn 1.0 last year, what can those returning players expect with Dreams of Saturn 2? Can you just talk us a little bit about what you've actually added? You've shown us a screenshot of the menu where there's 3 different modes now that you can basically pick your starting point from. So if you want to just talk a little bit about what a player that may have played Dreams of Saturn 1.0 last year might want to actually come back to 2.0 for.
Yeah, so the first, I've had this question a lot recently, and I'm surprised that I never explained this. This is 2.0, and it's the same game with a sort of like a DLC chapter added onto it. So the first game is still part of the same package. So it takes you to the same title screen as the first game last year. It's a little different title screen, but it's the same formula. You can start from the beginning and find all the Sanachons and finish that story that then leads to the harbor chapter directly. Or if you want, you can start with the finale fight scenes that go right to the chapter, the harbor chapter. Or the third option is to kind of start halfway done, where you have half the Chobus or Santas, and then the pool tournament's been moved towards the end. So you just get the story elements that are the most important, and then go to the harbor chapter, so nothing's kind of skipped over. So I wanted it to be that way, because there's some people who just don't want to replay the first. They just want to go straight to the second. And honestly, I thought the second chapter was going to be a lot shorter, but it after some testing and finishing it for the first time, they're both about the same amount of time investment. So it's almost like a sequel of a sort.
Would you say the second chapter is much improved over the first chapter, or are the sort of similar?
Much better.
Right.
I can't even look at the first one. Like I said before, the finale fighting scenes they're not nearly as good in the original, and the QTE inputs are just up, down, left, and right, and you only do one at a time. And some of the QTEs in DOS2 are going to be difficult, and they have life bars. So you and the enemy both have life bars, and if you fail the QTE, it moves on to the next QTE, or the next round of the fight, and your life bar goes down some. And some of these have just one little fight sequence, or one round will have three QTEs in a row, and then one where you, what is it called, Matt? We just told me the name the other day, where Shenmue 2 makes you do multiple inputs.
It was Action QTE.
Yeah, the action QTEs will require you to put 3 inputs in a row as quick as possible. That'll flash onto the screen. And so some of these QTEs are much more involved, but they're also, I think they're logically intuitive, or they feel right, where when you press forward, it requires you to press forward, then back, then X, then B. You'll see the character then move forward, then move back, then X will make him kick, and then B will make him block. So he'll repeat the movements, and it'll kind of subconsciously feel like you're inputting it. And because I can't create a fighting engine, I'm not a full-time developer. I don't know how to do that. So, but if the movements will feel natural to the QT inputs, and again, like we mentioned before, the impact, the sound effects, the moves, and the animations are more fluid. They're much more intense, and I'm very proud of them. It's the number one thing I'm proud of with this game.
And that it shows in the trailer, which we've obviously seen, and the cutscenes and the fighting look. It does. It looks brilliant, well choreographed, very violent, but all the same, I'm looking forward to it. So you've sort of touched
It's
on
not
this.
that violent.
Well,
Not that bad.
well, not too bad, I guess. Not Mortal Kombat style violent, but
Yeah,
probably
there's no
more
blood.
No, probably more violent than Shenmue's probably used to a little bit. But I don't mind that, because actually I think in this day and age, I think that's almost like a hook for people as well to play it.
Fire extinguisher to the face, though, Matt.
Oh yeah, well yeah, good point. In Shenmue 3, get a fire extinguisher to the face or a big log in the head. It's yeah, well yeah, very good point actually.
Doesn't he get hit with a fishing pole or a fish as well?
Oh, he gets hit on the head, doesn't he, with a fishing pole? He bops him on the head, doesn't he, when he knocks his fish over and he falls over. He gets bopped and then he falls in the river.
Yeah, I
But
mean, Ewok gets killed, so
yeah,
whatever.
true.
That got ran over. That made me cry.
Oh.
No, it didn't.
That brought the tone down.
I say in the trailer, our friendly cockroach may meet his untimely demise as well. You know, like it's very intimated there that that's a very violent death. But
No comment.
No comment. But what other, like you touched on this a little bit with the QTE sequences obviously being overhauled and changed, they're more like action QTEs in parts. But what other sort of new content or features have been added and improved over the original?
Yeah, so we're trying to get this second trailer done. We just didn't want to make an 8-minute trailer. And of course, we don't want to show everything, but there's a forklift racing of sorts that's going to be put into it, and there is a job system where you're going to be moving crates around. And
Nice.
the thing is, there's one section of the game where you want to do the forklift racing, but you can't because there was an accident where Mark and his friends accidentally, I leave it ambiguous, but they left a fisherman in a poor condition. And so they were now told that you can no longer do the forklift racing. So he takes you to this other place where you can put these 3D glasses on, and they put a outrun machine on top of a forklift. And so you have to do virtual forklift racing. And then Mark tells you that whatever you do, don't wear these glasses outside of this forklift, because he just leaves it ambiguous. He says, just trust me, don't wear these glasses outdoors. And so every time Rio puts the glasses on outdoors, it transforms the environment to a Sega cameo. And so you see a little bit of that in the trailer when you see Fighting Robert on a submarine with Streets of Rage 2 in the background, because Rio decided to put the glasses on. So it's sort of like the Yakuza series with Ichiban and his bat, that the people he fights turn into monsters of sorts. It's the same concept. So I just didn't want to do the same Sega cameos with just TV sets playing in the background and just to golf. But there's, and the thing too is I've heard people say they don't enjoy the forklift job in Shenmue 1, or they just don't want to see it in a fan game as just being the same old thing because they'll get bored. So I had to put a twist on it. So the forklift job does have moments where he puts the glasses on to make the forklift job more exciting. And so that's sort of, it's a mini game, but it's part of the story at the same time. I also, as far as other new features, there's chase sequences, which the trailer does show 2 of them, where you're chasing the Mad Angels on your forklift, and one where you're chasing Smith and Tony through the harbor. So I've been able to learn how to do that, to have you actually chase them around the harbor, and you have to keep pace with them. And if they get too far away, I use the line from the game where he goes, "I lost them." And so that's a new element that I didn't have before. There's a Santa search of sorts where you can find up to 15 Santa-chans throughout the harbor. And there's climbing elements where you can climb a tower. You can jump up on top of crates, and he'll grab the ledge and pull himself up. And so you can do that search, and there's places. I noticed when people were playing Dreams of Saturn 1, they would go up to a building and be like, oh, they can open that door now and go inside that building, and they don't try to because they're just not used to it. They
Yeah,
think it's
true.
Shenmue. I'm like, no, open the door, and they don't do it. So people were having a hard time like getting used to the idea that some of these doors can be opened now. So it's the same concept where some of these Santas are hidden in the harbor. They're in locations that you don't think you can get to, but you can if you find the right way to do it. And there's
See,
the
that
last.
sounds really exciting.
Well, there's one last element to it that I kind of not sure if I should be doing it, but I'm doing it anyway. In the second day, which is the main day of the game, you can go around the harbor and talk to people, but you can also ride the forklift around. And if you so choose, you can run people over and watch them go flying into the ocean. You can knock another forklift driver into the ocean if you feel like it. They don't die, they respawn. But it's for the more morbid people who, they don't want to go out and drive their car through a crowd of people. They would rather just play it in a video game. It's there if you feel like it. Plus, the other forklifts that are riding around, if you step in front of one, they don't slow down in this game versus the original.
No way.
They will.
That's going to be funny.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a playground, and I like it that way. It's a little like a fresh take on it. So
I'm just imagining like the streamers playing that part of the game where they're just expecting the forklift to come to a gradual stop, or Rio to go ooh or whatever, like he bumps into something. But this time you're just going to run someone over or push a forklift into the sea.
well,
I'm looking forward to seeing those reactions.
I'll only spoil one of it. But when Mark hits you with his forklift, all he says is "killed by the Mad Angels," which is the line he says about his brother.
Right.
Every time he runs you over, he says "killed by the Mad Angels." Um, so it's like I've tried to make it funny. If you get all the different forklifts have their own lines of audio when they hit you and what they say to you. So
Funny stuff.
it's very playful. Plus, you can decorate the forklift. You can change the color, the number, the decals on it. You can change the color of the tires, the color of the frame, and the color of the actual lifts. So there's some
Cool.
variety to how you can decorate that as well.
We noticed actually Rio was wearing a different pair of jeans. Is it like, can you customize Rio's outfit, or is it just
That was an
something
accident.
specific to the story? Was it?
I
That was
was
an accident.
I was messing around with that, and I forgot to fix it back because I was going to do outfit color change.
Right.
I might still try
Okay.
to do it if I have time, but
Mm,
if you look closely, his shirt's also blue in the trailer. It's really hard to spot.
right.
So I
Okay.
may try to put that in there, but that was just I had forgot to change his character model for the trailer clips.
Mm,
Oops.
yeah. Oh well. Definitely check out the trailer anyway, guys, because I know George referenced like some of the moments in the trailer there, but like seeing that Streets of Rage moment, that you absolutely nailed the aesthetics of Streets of Rage with the turkey on the floor, like the pickups, and just the sort of side-scrolling look that you had with the camera, and obviously the sort of Mega Drive pixelated 16-bit graphic textures. It just looks great. It just looks like it works. So I'm personally excited to get to those sort of moments because one, I love Sega, so like any little Sega reference is awesome, but just from a Sega fan's point of view as well, I think you really nailed that aesthetic there.
That was my favorite thing that I created. Honestly, I'm most proud of that fight scene with Robert. I think that I
Mm,
said to somebody else before that I think will steal the show in a way. That whole fight sequence because it goes on for a while and it's some of the choreography. I'm just really proud of it.
it sounds great. It does sound great. So essentially, you've worked on maybe like 2.5 games at this point, because obviously you've got your Dreams of Saturn 1, Dreams of Saturn 2, and half of Reclaiming the Path. I don't know where you're at with that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But was working on Dreams of Saturn 2, did you find that to be like easier to work on because of all the knowledge that you've learned over the course of the last couple of years or whatever? Or was it actually more challenging in a sense and perhaps took longer to make because now you know how to use the tools and you're trying to do maybe too much this time around? Did you find it easier or tougher, I suppose, is the question?
You actually just answered the question because what you just said is exactly what I was going to say. At first, I
Right.
was just like, yeah, I don't have to deal with what I did with the first game because the first time I ever pressed play on the editor, I had Rio standing in his bedroom, and all of a sudden he just falls to the floor and keeps falling forever.
I remember you saying that, yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, probably got to figure out how to stop that from happening. And it took me like a week just to get it started. I restarted the project 9 times because I did a fatal flaw that I couldn't just go back and fix. It was fundamentally broken from the get go. So this time I was like, yeah, I don't have to worry about any of that. I know exactly how to start and I know exactly what I need to do, until I decided to add stupid things like the forklift racing or the forklift trying to figure out how to lift up a crate and put it back down, and then do the bike racing. And then I'm just like, oh, it doesn't just plug and play. I just don't put a bike on the ground and it just drives itself. Uh, so like the biggest thing to me is the crate moving. I had so much appreciation for how they did that, because I I would put a crate on the ground. I would find a way to animate the forklifts to three separate animations: on the ground, semi up, and then at its top. And then, but the problem is, like, you put the forklifts through it, and then you lift up the crate, and it slides right off. So what we call kinematic, or it's not moving at all. It can't be influenced by physics. I had to turn the crate into a kinematic object, but then I had to drive around with it. So when I put the forks through it, it sets off a trigger to make it kinematic. The problem is, it it won't move anywhere. So when I started driving forward, it was stuck in midair, and now my forklift is stuck in midair, and I can't go anywhere. I'm like, well, now what do I do? How do I keep the crate on the forklifts without it falling off? And then when I put it down, what do I do to release it to where it will get off the forklift again and then just sit there? So like all this silly stuff. And I finally got it. I got it right where I put a little trigger on the floor. So when you put when you put the crate onto the ground of the warehouse, it says, yes, you put the crate on the ground. So you get 1 point essentially. But the problem was, what happens when I go to stack one on top of the other crate? The trigger's on the ground. So when I stacked the second crate on top of the first one, it didn't give me a point. So I'm like, oh, so now I got to put a trigger on top of each crate, so in case you place something on top of it. So when I did that, if I just rubbed by that first crate with a second crate, it would have automatically give me a point, but just by rubbing up against it. So now I'm just like, oh. So it's like all these little steps you have to figure out before it actually works, and it's still not perfect. Somebody's going to hit the wrong corner of a fence while they're moving the forklift with the crate on it, and that crate's going to just fly all over the screen. It's going to stretch brokenly. And I'm going to just say to people, forgive it for what it is. Just laugh at it. Don't go, well, this game's broken. Well, of course it's broken. It's a fan game. What do you want?
I want perfection. I want perfection, damn it, right now.
Yeah.
No.
I do.
Give me money.
It's easy to get like into that. I know when I first worked on Shenmue World Issue 1, for example, like, I don't know if I had more time, but it just felt like it was easy to do. And then Issue 2, I think I just overcomplicated things, but then that's just the way I'm designing the magazine now, because I know how to do things. I know how, like, the look and feel that I want to actually get on a page. So I'm like layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, and perhaps it's like really overkill and people don't care that much. But when you're actually, it does become harder. You think in your head it would become easier because you're more familiar at using the software. But in fact, the more familiar you become, you start doing things that you didn't know you could do the first time, and it just overcomplicates it. But for the better, in a way, it's like it is for the better, because you're improving the product at some point. It's just, it's that mindset that you think it's going to be easier, and actually it's the complete opposite.
And we were talking off air as well, and we were saying that something like that, when you go on, hop on to work on something, say like you got an hour, I go, right, I need to do this in an hour, I've got an hour to do it. You think, it'd be a quick job. It's never a quick job, is it? Because actually you then start going, well, if I do this, then I have to do something else. And then actually an hour's job becomes all of a sudden a 3-hour job, or half a day job, and sort of mounts up that way as well. And also, I think as you get more confident with softwares or whatever it is, you do naturally start exploring things. Well, what would happen if I go and do this? What would happen if I know in this video I use a different transition or set things up a different way so it works different. You get confident, you get natural, and that's where the mind goes, and you start exploring things, and that's where you lose the time as well. But it's a natural thing to go and do that. But I think that whole trial and error thing is just part of it. And when you get it right and you nail it down, like with the crates George is talking about, that's a satisfying moment when you get it and you go, right, it's working, I've sorted it, it's pretty much as I envisioned. Which I think that's then those little satisfying moments when people play the game itself. They don't see all of that work that goes on behind the scenes, that all that testing, that tweaking, that even that self-doubt of going, should I really be doing this or not? But to hell with it, I'm going to do it anyway. That's where all that sort of pays off. It probably leads in a little bit to the next question, is around music. And George, you and your brother have been known for Shenmue music or Shenmue inspired music for years now. But I am going to ask the straight question here. Is there any new music in Dreams of Saturn 2? And also, if there is, have you used any artists from within the Shenmue community as well?
I would say the music's probably the least amount of focus we put on this one. Yeah, we have a lot of music sitting around already, so we just kind of threw it in there. Yeah, there's some new music, and nobody worth mentioning. And Richard Cartlidge is listening right now, like, whoa, what about me? So Richard wrote some new tracks for us. Joe wrote 2 new tracks, but I think Richard has about 4 or 5 that are new. And he gets better every year with his music. I'm not saying his old music was bad, but his new stuff is, he's come a long way over the last 5 years. And so his music just fits perfectly with the game. And so I probably wrote like 1 or 2 songs from last year that I'm using now, but I actually haven't written a song in over a year.
Quite interesting.
Ever since I started making games, I haven't got back to music at all. So there's some new music though, and it's good. But the thing is also, the first Dreams of Saturn, I didn't use every song in the catalog, and a lot of the Christmas music, I was just like, well, why didn't I use those songs? So I just, I'm using a lot of the same music that from Shenmue that we just didn't use the first time around.
Brilliant.
That's great.
Spot on.
Yeah, very good. We can actually play some of that music for you in a moment. Maybe pick a Christmassy one, actually, George, if you can.
Sure.
Let's stay theme of the show with the Christmas stuff. I suppose we can maybe wrap up the Dreams of Saturn talk a little bit now. So obviously the game's going to be coming out this year, this month, but perhaps maybe you can tell us the exact release date and anything else that you think perhaps people out there should know before the release date happens, I suppose.
Well, it's December 19th is the goal. I think a lot of people are anticipating playing it over the weekend. So if we come to Thursday the 19th and it's not ready, or if I can fix 1 or 2 things, I may delay it to Friday or at the latest Saturday morning. But the game's almost ready, so there shouldn't be any delays past the 21st. And but that's about it. It's going to be the same as last year. You go to the Shenmue Dojo, there'll be a download link for people. You put the folder on the desktop, you play it directly. I'm looking into trying to get a launcher where you can kind of install it onto the hard drive. But Windows 11's been tricky. I've been hearing from people that it might be tricky to do it this year, the same as last year. So I'm looking into that. And then the Mac version, I'm working on it and hoping that it comes out at the same time. The only problem with making the Mac version is if I send it out to people and they tell me there's a bug that I cannot recreate on my PC, I have to fix it on a guess. I can't test it. I can't test the fix. I have to send the game back out and hope that the bug was fixed after I attempt to fix it. So it's a little tricky in that regard. And I'm not going to go buy a Mac, and I'm not going to learn how to use one to make that work. But hopefully both of them come out within a week of each other, and that's it.
Brilliant.
Very good. Well, I mean, hopefully that's exciting to some people, because I know, like last time around, there's a few people that were asking for a Mac port or a Mac version of the game, and obviously at that time you didn't have one. So yeah, maybe this time around, hopefully it all works out for you and you can get both versions of the game there working. And Mac players, off the top of my head, Paddy, I know as a Mac player who's didn't actually get to play last year, he's been waiting for a Mac version, so exciting times ahead for him, I guess. But yeah, it's cool that you can actually get that this time around.
We will definitely be streaming it as well on the 21st. I'm going to sit and stream it, which I'm looking forward to.
I do have a rule that no alcohol is allowed to be drank during playing. It's called the Mac rule. So
I don't know if Matt can promise that.
I don't know. It's a Christmas stream. It's a bit of a tradition, isn't it?
Yes, it is. You were plastered last year, that's for sure.
Yeah, I did get pretty drunk last year. Oh,
why not, eh?
It's Christmas. It's fun.
Enjoying the Winterfest? Why not keep listening to Radio Sega once it's over? There's plenty of live shows, and you can even request your favorite music from our playlist. You're listening to Radio Sega, playing the best Sega music 24/7.
Right, guys, let's have a little break anyway. I'm going to crack open another Christmas cracker. Okay, so 2 more jokes for you guys here.
Okay.
This one's possibly the worst one, I don't know. Let's see how it goes. Where did the leader of the pack of wolves go to get a job?
Where?
The Alpha Trading Office.
Oh,
I'm not sure if that works,
dear.
since it's called that anyway. It's called the Alpha Trading Office, but not the best one. This is a good one. What did Landy say when he realised that it's been over 5 years since Shenmue 3?
Go on.
Wow, they're making this drag on.
My gosh,
God.
you said they were going to get better.
Oh, my days.
Right, let's play some music. Welcome back. That piece of music you were telling us was composed by Joe, right, George?
It was.
Very good. Nice piece of music, that one. We've got a short section now on reclaiming the path. So we want to talk about this. I know Dreams of Saturn 2.0 is kind of the main focus, but I don't think we could interview you. And I assume, like, you've just done an interview with Sega Lounge. Casey, very good friend of the show. I'm pretty sure he probably asked you about Reclaiming the Path as well. I think anyone that's going to be speaking to you who knows your works are very excited about Reclaiming the Path, especially me. I love the Guilin section of Shenmue 2, and this is essentially a Guilin based game by looks of it. I know you got like bits of Hong Kong and whatnot in there as well, but very exciting. So let's talk a little bit about that. What's the current project status on Reclaiming the Path? Have you still been working on it? Or is like Dreams of Saturn 2 mainly taken up your focus and you've put it to the side a little bit?
Yeah, it's been put to the side. I haven't touched it since September. But the thing is, I've put total with Dreams of Saturn, I put 3.5 months into the first one, and now I put about 3 months into the second one, which is about 6.5 months of work. I've already put 10 months of work into Reclaiming the Path. It's a far larger and more ambitious project, and it's right now it's twice the size easily of the first of Dreams of Saturn, and it's going along. And once January comes along, I'll get back to it and applying a lot of the things I've learned in the last 3 months. And the biggest thing is the conversation camera and talking to NPCs and getting their mouths to move. If I had not done that with Dreams of Saturn like I did and learned from that, I wouldn't be able to apply it to Reclaiming the Path like I will be able to now. So I can make the villages a little bit more, involved. But this is going to be a long project for Reclaiming the Path. It's not going to be available in March. I know I wanted it to be, but I'm not going to release this and make it feel like it's a shell of a game. I really wanted to have daily routines of NPCs. I wanted to have a good story. We've rewritten a lot of it, and the initial trailer is almost like it's 30% accurate to what it is now. So it's changed a lot since then. It also looks a lot better than it did in that trailer. So a lot of things I haven't shown people, but just the village I created out of nothing, it's taken up so much of my time. Where Dreams of Saturn, I took an environment that was already there and put it back together, and then just hid a little Santa Chan in a corner and called it done. So making a city from scratch took a lot of time. But I have like boats floating up and down. I have boats going down the channel, NPCs walking home in the evening, and fireflies around a lamppost. Like little things that I just don't have time to do for Dreams of Saturn. That I really wanted to feel as authentic as I can to Shenmue 2. And Shenmue 2 is a big game. It's a lot of environments that you have to account for. So, and we're trying to make Bailu Village, we're trying to remake it into a Shenmue 2 game. A lot of people are thinking, well, he just took the actual map of the first one, or Shenmue 3's Bailu Village, and just retextured it all. That's not the case at all. Um, I've had to build the village from nothing. The terrain, the landscapes, the mountains around it, none of those are there from from Shenmue 3. So I just wanted to be the best game possible. It will come out too. I'm not going to start this and be like, 2 years from now, yeah, I'll get to it when I have time. It will come out. It's not going to be one of these things that gets delayed for 5 years.
So roughly, how, if you could put a percentage on the progress of it so far, what sort of percentage would you say it's at currently?
About 50%.
Okay.
It's halfway done.
That's good. In fair, I wanted to pick up a point actually talking about the village you've like essentially built from scratch in this game. How did you do that in terms of getting everything together to then essentially get all the what looks like puzzle pieces in my head to then build this new area? How did you go about doing it and planning all of that?
Yeah, planning's the wrong word to use. I don't plan anything. I jump into it, and it kind of reveals itself as I go along. A lot of these like fight scenes that I put together for Dreams of Saturn, they don't start with a plan. I just go into it, and it starts to evolve itself. A character will get next to an object or a container, and I'll have them jump on top of it. It's sort of the same thing with how I create Reclaiming the Path. A lot of it, like the story that I'm writing, the story sometimes appears as I'm creating the environment and putting things on the ground and going, well, I like this spot and it gives me an idea. So a lot of it I create as I'm going along. And when I say I create it from scratch, obviously like the buildings are taken from cutscenes, like the flashback of Shuing and her brother, the house that they're inside. I took that house and I put it into a large city and I moved things around, walls, doors, and stacked them on top of each other to make different designs for houses. And the if you look at Shajo Village, the new one in Reclaiming the Path, if you look at it from the right angle, you'll realize that the cliff at the top with the tree on it is the cliff on the side of Shimfa's house going down.
Okay.
It's the same cliff essentially, but it's kind of stacked on top of other cliffs throughout other areas of the game and created my own little mountain with waterfalls going down. And those waterfalls are all taken from somewhere else within the game, but there are sections where I did have to retexture and drag meshes around and create my own meshes to make them all fit together. So it's not all just puzzles. There are new environments that I'm crafting from within the software that I'm using. So I have had to learn how to create terrain and stuff like that. But there's obviously like barrels and boxes and fishing equipment on the ground. They're all just taken from shops. The interiors of the houses are taken from shops as well, and kind of just move things around. But then there's things like, well, how do you get from one section to the next section up? I don't want to create stairwells. There's no stairwells in Shenmue 2 that could fit in a village like that. So I created an elevator and dug a tunnel and had the elevator, this old rickety elevator, go up and down through the middle of the village. And so like stuff like that. And you just kind of mess with it as you go along, and it starts to mold into something. And the whole river right there is just the Guilin intro river that you never get to interact with. And so that river from the intro of Guilin in Shenmue 2 is not the same village, not the same river where Longwy Shan is. Yes, it's supposed to be, but the actual models and design are different textures, different meshes. So that intro, I can rip that environment and then put that on the ground and then put the new village on top of it. So I didn't have to create that entire river design. That would be a nightmare.
So you said like obviously you've been working on this and it's evolved the more you've worked on it. So does that essentially mean that it's actually larger than you originally anticipated? You know, when you had the plans to make this game originally, has it grown astronomically to what your original plans were, would you say?
Again, I was just messing with things, and it evolves itself. I wish I could say I planned better than that, but I really didn't. I just start creating things, and I stop when I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't. I don't know. The older I get, I'm 44 years old, and I tend to do a lot of things on a whim, and I don't think things through, and I don't know why I'm becoming this way. And I think part of it is if I think about how much work is ahead of me, I won't do it. And so building a game like Reclaiming the Path, if I stop and think about everything and plan it all out, I won't even start. I'll realize, well, it's just too much. I'm not going to do it.
So you're sort of more having fun with it, would you say then?
I just put my head down and I start working,
Mm.
and I don't try to think about what I'm making because I'm a very momentum based worker. If I stop and think about stuff, then I won't get it done. I just got to keep working and just let it see where it goes. It's not that I'm saying that it's an unorganized mess and I don't have an end in sight. Obviously, I was able to release one game before, so I have a good work ethic, but things get in the way. Health issues, family, um, not getting family doesn't get in the way, but like family's health.
Yeah,
Uh,
we get what you mean. Yeah.
I have a day job, so when people were like, "Well, you promised that this game would come out in September," that's true, I did. But if I'm not working on the game, nobody is, and so I'm trying to create this game on my own essentially. And if life gets in the way, people have to understand that. So
Yeah, no, that's very true, and it's again, I think that's part of the Shenmue community, isn't it? That we all do this from a place of passion, but we all have other jobs, other things we do in our lives, commitments, and things that obviously at times have to take precedence. So to actually get to a point where you end up releasing a game like a Dreams of Saturn 2, and hopefully Reclaiming the Path, that in itself is a massive achievement. And I think sometimes it gets lost in the fact that actually it's been created at times where we've all had family stresses, we've had health issues or whatever. So to have a game come out, a fan game come out that's finished is almost, it is an achievement and one that should be celebrated. I did a fan game video and half at most got released in any shape or form over a 20-year period of Shenmue fan games. So you can see how many of these fall away. But I think because you keep going back to it and keep working and then chipping away at it, it doesn't, as you say, you don't see this big picture as a massive, oh my God, how am I going to get there? You end up just naturally pushing along to it, which is, I think, a good way to do things. But one thing I wanted to ask was around the features in Reclaiming the Path. I know you talked about a little bit of Dreams of Saturn 2 being almost like a testing ground to a point with Reclaiming the Path, but are there features in Reclaiming the Path that aren't in Dreams of Saturn 2, and if so, what are they?
boy, I hadn't thought about the game honestly since September, so I don't even remember what's in it. Well, the thing is, it just tries to be Shenmue 2. There's a lot of running along the river, and the QTE sequences are about dodging the environment and jumping over the holes. But this time you have people with you that you're traveling with, and it's done in real time. It's not a QT sequence so much in some of the scenes where one of them is it's a thunderstorm, and you're controlling Zhongshuan, and you got two friends that are following you, and you're running with them, and they stay next to you, and your rocks are falling off the cliff, and the player has to steer around it. You have a timer that says, you have to get to the end of this storm in this flooding river by 2 minutes, and so it's an advanced version, I guess, of the QTEs where in Shenmue 2 where you're running with Shenfall and she's, you're dodging boulders and the hole in the ground. It's real time. This time you're literally controlling a third person character, jumping over the rocks and running forward the whole time. So I haven't done that for Dreams of Saturn as much in a similar vein, but it's somewhat unique to that. But as far as things that are not in Dreams of Saturn that are in Reclaiming the Path, I don't know. Roll It on Top is in there. I've got that done.
Ooh,
that was a nightmare.
Cool.
I would watch the character drop the dice onto the bowl, and I'd see a 3 and I'd see a 6, and he says, and the total is 85. And I'd be like, well, how did you get to that number? Because I had a continuous trigger on there, which means it's every frame it's checking the total, and then it added it up to 85. And I'm like, well, you just lost 85 to 6, and that's a pretty miserable way to lose. That was a hard one to put together. It seems like such a simple game, but you're trying to create a physical die and have it be dropped into a bowl, and have it read the numbers that are facing up. And if you really think about how complex that is to a programming aspect, and there's somebody listening that's been a programmer for 30 years and goes, yeah, it would take me 5 minutes. Yeah, well, I'm not a professional programmer. I don't know how to do this stuff. So I just fake it. I just pretend like I know what I'm doing. And if you see the way that I actually did it, there's just people that are face palming right now that be like, you just chose the hardest way to do it.
I suppose it's whatever gets the job done though, right?
I was about to say, if it works, it works. It doesn't matter.
I know some people that, are stuck in the ways and they just want to do what they prefer to do, and you might get someone nagging at them to do it differently, but I don't think. I think as long as it gets done the way that you want to do and the way that you're happy doing it, even if it takes a little bit longer than perhaps expected or someone else can do it in, I don't think it matters too much particularly. And this is sort of this is your game, this is your beauty or whatever that you're putting this time and effort into. So I think just do what you need to do, George, to get this done, because I don't think anyone's going to be upset with the end result anyway.
Well, it'll come out, I promise. I'm not the kind of person that starts something and just leaves it unfinished. I just can't afford to have committed this much time to something and not have it come out. That would just be kind of, I don't want to say devastating, but
yeah,
all that wasted time, I can't let that happen. It'll definitely come out.
So judging from like the trailer back in the day that we saw of Reclaiming the Path, it looks to be a more serious or have like a more serious tone than Dreams of Saturn. Is that the case? Is that what we can expect, or is it still quite humorous, like some of the like your jokes and whatnot that we've come accustomed to with Dreams of Saturn? Is there still some elements of that in Reclaiming the Path? Is it very much serious based, would you say?
I don't know how to do anything serious based 100%. I tend to like laughter, and if I'm making a fan game, if I take myself too seriously, nobody else will. I would usually roll my eyes at somebody else who tries to make a very serious story when it's not their place to do so. And so I can't help it. I get to a scene, it's a very serious moment, and I just say, well, what if I made this a funny scene somehow and ruin the entire seriousness of it? And I cannot help myself. I end up doing that. And but then there's elements where I just add a little humor here and there. There's a part in the Green Market Quarter where you're chasing a cat down who got loose, and you get to this balcony and you trap it, and you get on your knees and you go to grab the cat, and the cat swipes at you, and it hits you in the face. So what I decided to do was it knocks you out, and then on the screen it does like when Ryo does his elbow to Don Yu and finishes him off. The characters hit the screen dramatically, showing cat lightning strike, and you now fall to the floor in slow motion, and the cat stands over your top of you victorious. I just couldn't help myself, and I just said, well, that's the kind of humor that I like to do. So
is that one of those moments where it goes, well, like with the kanji characters?
Yes, that's exactly what happens. And the cat's standing over you, like you just. What's the elbow assault move called? I never remember the name.
Counter elbow assault.
Yeah, so that's what the cat kind of does to you, and has this special moment of victory over the enemy.
Amazing. I'm glad you've kind of kept like the humorous aspects to it, because it adds to the charm of the game as such. And again, it's something that you've produced, and from what we know already about you, like it's come to expect that kind of humor.
It's a fan game, and it has to stay a fan game. It has to be a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, because I don't want people to think that I'm trying to replace the story of Shenmue or pretend that I have the right to or the skill to create what they've been able to create. So I want it to be tongue-in-cheek. I want it to be humorous. And I've had some people complain saying, oh, why do you have Zhongshuan as the main character? He should be Ryo and you should finish the story. And I'm like, well, if somebody else made that, I wouldn't want to play it. I'd be like, who is this guy to tell me, what if I decide that Ryo kills Lan Di in my story in front of everybody? I would be insulted as a fan if I saw somebody else try to create that story. I wouldn't take it serious for a minute. That's not your story to tell.
I do think like side stories are probably the better
way to
angle
go,
to
aren't
go.
they?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've got my own freedoms and liberties I can take with Zhang Xuan. He's a drunkard party boy, overweight, who's lost his touch, and he doesn't take anything serious. And so there's a lot of room there to create an arc and create a bit of a. He's a loose cannonball who kind of go one way or the other. And I think there's a lot of room that you can stay within there where he struggles with his alcohol problems. He struggles with taking things serious. He meets up with Wei Jin, who's very serious, very disciplined. So I think they were a good match. Wei Jin's in the story. I think I've told people that many times now.
Yeah.
But Wei Jin is a very disciplined young girl who takes her life very seriously, but she's also struggles with confidence, as displayed in Shenmue 3. She's a people pleaser, or else her mother keeps trying to pawn her off to get married, and she doesn't fight her mother on that. So she's a people pleaser. She struggles with confidence, but she's very disciplined. And Zhang Xuan is the complete opposite, and I think there's a good dynamic there to create a cool story between them.
I can't wait to play it. But that's yeah, and I like the fact it's going to have some tongue-in-cheek stuff in it, because actually I think that's part of. George, we've known each other a long time now, and it's part of your character. You're very tongue-in-cheek anyway, in the way you interact and approach things anyway. So I think if it lost that element, I think it loses that personal touch. So I'm glad it's there. I think it'll again resonate, and I completely agree what we were saying. I think Ryo's story needs to be completed by Yu Suzuki or an appointed person if it goes that way at any point in time to complete it. Going down the side story route, I think, is the best way forward. It doesn't mean you can't tie into events of the previous games, which I'm sure, I think you've intimated in the trailer that you have sort of intertwined things a little bit, and that's brilliant, because then you can use that as inspiration to move your story forward in the way you want to. But then and I appreciate this, there's not a set release date on this at all. It's almost a case of when it's done. But do you have a target in mind to get this game out?
Ideally before I start working on Dreams of Saturn 3.0 next year. So if I could get it out by September, I'd be very happy. So that's kind of the goal, but no promises. I don't want to compromise to reach a release date. I'll let Dreams of Saturn be the mess that doesn't work, potentially. This one is going to be taken too seriously, where I've got to make sure that it works before I release it.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to both games.
I can't wait. Yeah, both games are going to be brilliant, I'm sure.
And I'm not saying Dreams of Saturn is going to be a complete mess and that it's not going to work. I'm testing it every day, and I'm trying to make sure that doesn't happen. But I have a deadline for Christmas because the game takes place on Christmas, so I've got to make sure it gets out, ready or not.
That makes sense. And that deadline is fast approaching, George, not to panic you, mate.
I'm working on it every second we're talking right now.
Really?
It's on my screen
and the pauses.
We're talking.
All right, well, I'll work a little bit more while I open the final Christmas cracker. So, last two jokes, guys. Let's knock these out. So, what did Shenhua say when she realised that it's been over 5 years since Shenmue 3?
What did she say?
Wow, haven't they phoenixed this yet?
Oh my god.
That was actually the best one of the day, which isn't saying much.
Yeah. It carried on from the dragon one, but I thought you might like that. I was going to group them together, but I thought I'd split them.
Fair.
And knock knock.
Who's there?
Nozomi.
Nozomi who?
Oh, snap. That's cool, Matt.
Oh.
Everyone's forgotten about Nozomi.
Oh,
right,
dear.
Let's play the final... Oh, actually, not the final piece of music. The third piece of music now. Another piece of music from Dreams of Saturn. I believe this is a piece that Richard created, George.
Oh, that's right.
Maybe.
Richard Cartlidge wrote one or two songs in the past, so...
Welcome back. That was a piece of music that Richard has written in the past.
You're locked into Radio Sega, and this is our Winterfest 2023 weekend.
We're going to wrap up the show with a little bit of a character quiz. So I actually did this last time with you, Matt, right? So
yes.
Essentially, George, what we're going to be doing here is I've actually got a list of 6 characters this time around. We're going to go through each character one by one, and you can work with Matt on this one. So between yourselves, I want you to come up with 5 questions that essentially are going to help you to determine which character I've written down here, essentially. And there's going to be a common theme between all 6 characters. And if you can just get the theme in the end, you pass the quiz kind of thing. But let's try and nail each of these characters. Matt actually did it last show. I don't know if you heard, George, but the first one, it was more of a guess, really, that he got.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know, slightly annoying in a way, but...
I'm not sure I understand the rules, but we'll figure it out as we go along.
Matt, you do the first question then, Matt, for the first character, and let's just see where it takes us.
Okay, so first question I'm going to ask is, are they male or female?
They are male.
Okay.
So, put that down to male. So, George, did you want to take the next question? Just think of like any question you can think of that would help determine who this character might be.
Do they have an obsession with capsule toy machines, which would make only 2 possible characters, making it a bad question?
It's still better than what Matt said. Matt said last time, does this character say I see a lot? Which just literally narrowed down one character. But capsule toys, they don't have an obsession with, that I'm aware of anyway.
And I don't care who it is. Not somebody I want to know.
Fair enough. Matt, your question? I mean, you can work together. I don't know why you're taking it in turns, but...
We only get 6 questions?
5 questions.
5?
It's difficult, yeah.
5 questions, 6 characters, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be difficult. Are they in Shenmue 2?
They're not in Shenmue 2.
Good job, Pat. You just screwed up. Actually, it would have been the same otherwise. If you said they aren't in Shenmue, and then the answer is yes. And it's the same answer. Okay, let's see. It's a male in Shenmue 1. Doesn't like capsule toy machines. We'll leave it as stated. We're not sure. Are they an enemy or a friend?
A friend.
We get one more question, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's going to get hard now.
this is going to get hard. But like I say, you can get the common theme. So if you don't get the character, don't worry too much.
They're a friend.
So it's a friend. I'll give you that it is Shenmue 1. It could be Shenmue 3. I have included characters from Shenmue 3, but so it's a friend from Shenmue 1. They're not obsessed with capsule toys that we were aware of, and they are a male character. Final question, Matt.
Do they influence Rio in some way?
Yes.
But you could say yes to anybody with that.
I'm just thinking.
Story based, I'll give you as an extra clue. They do influence the story. So I'll let you both have a guess now. What character are you going to guess for this particular one? Do you want to have a stab in the dark, Matt?
Just having to think. I am going to go Guizhang.
Guizhang it isn't. George?
I'll just say Mark.
Mark it isn't. So you failed the first character. The first character was actually Master Chen.
Damn, I was in the ballpark.
You were in the ballpark with Guizhang actually, but just remember that character as we move into the second character, Matt. So I'll let George start with the first question actually.
Yeah, okay.
Is this an adult or a child?
It's an adult. Matt, you're up.
I thought I was going to get you on that one.
Were they friends with a WoW?
Ooh. I'm not sure actually. I'm going to say no just because I'm not 100% on that.
Okay.
So that might help you. That might give you a bit of a clue.
Are they located in Wanzai?
They're not.
Damn. Took a risk.
Matt, fourth question.
Not okay, one's eye. Adult. Not necessarily friends with a WoW. Do they work in a shop?
Would it might help if I say that potentially they used to, but currently no.
Okay.
George, do you want to take the final question?
Well, we're really not getting anywhere in this one. But I'm going to try to narrow down the ambiguity of the statement that they may possibly have run into Iwao at some point. That could have been easily in China or Japan because he lives in the same city as Ryo. So why not say, yeah, possibly ran into somebody. But I'm going to say, oh gosh, are they over the age of 55?
Yes, I imagine so. Yeah.
It's not going to help too much, but at least it's somebody older.
Yeah, so it's an adult, talking elderly now. Potentially not come across a WoW or friends with him. They're not located in Wanzai. And what was your fourth question, Matt? Forgot already. I said no to it anyway.
They work in a shop.
Yeah, work in a shop. Yeah, currently no, which I guess you could take as they've retired.
You could take it as many things.
Yeah. So character guesses, guys.
I'm going to go Homeless Man Shozo.
It's not Shozu.
I think it's pretty obvious who it is, honestly, man. I'm disappointed in you.
Who is it, George?
It's clearly, gosh, I wish I could ask one more question. I'm going to say the taxi driver, Nomura-san. Why not?
Nomura-san. Yeah, no. Fortunately not. Sorry, guys. It's actually Lou Senior.
Ah, okay.
Wow, we were actually getting somewhat close at the very end.
You're very close, actually. You probably could do with one more question. But again, thinking of the link between these characters, Master Chen, Liu Senior so far. Third character, guys.
That's turn to start.
Pick up the pace a bit.
Just having a think. I am going to go, are they male or female?
Female.
Okay. Shenmue 2?
Not Shenmue 2.
Boy, we're sticking with Shenmue 1 for... Ooh, I forgot there's a Shenmue 3 as well. Dang, I should have said China or Japan. Forget it.
Yeah, true, but then that would just still give you 2 games, wouldn't it? I guess a little bit
But Shenmue 2 and 3 don't exist in the same country. Never mind.
towards the end.
Don't worry about it.
Queeling.
Don't worry about it.
Matt
So female, and
could be Shenmue 1 or 3.
I'm going to think here now. Trying to think of a good question. Try to narrow it down. Did they meet a WoW?
I'd say so, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, 4th question, George.
Trying to think of all the females I know in Shenmue.
So a female character that's met a WoW. Could that narrow it down?
Does this person ever walk around Sakuragoka?
Nope.
It's the last question now.
It is actually, yeah.
Shit.
What I may have to do next time is less characters but more questions. I don't know.
Are they located in Bailu Village? I'm going out on a limb here.
Ooh, that's a good question, Matt. They are. So you've got 2 attempts at getting this character now. So it's a female, probably met a WoW, in Bailu Village. So you've narrowed that down to Shenmue 3 as well. Any stabs for characters here?
Matt has to go first.
Go on, Matt.
I'm just trying to think of the name of the lady who runs the Manuan Temple. I can't think of her name.
That'd be enough. And I'll tell you, it isn't her. Isn't her?
Bugger.
It isn't her.
Bugger. Alright, yeah, go with that.
Well, I'm thinking in Bailu Village, there's not a lot of people that talk about knowing him. So I'm going to say, the name is escaping me currently. Let me think of the name real quick. It's well, is it her though? It's got to be her. I can't think of another female in the entire city that would, one, be alive during that time. Obviously, there's a few of them, but they would be very young and uninteresting to this question. So I'm going to say it's the blind,
on the right tracks.
the blind old lady, which I can never remember her name.
Alda, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Alda, yeah. You've got it. You've got the first character there. You've nailed. It is Alda, yeah. So I don't know if you've seen any potential connection here between Master Chen, Liu Senior, and Alda, yeah. But we'll move into the 4th character now, guys.
I think I've got the theme potentially.
2, 3, 4, 5. I've just noticed I've done 7 characters actually.
I think they tell. My theory is they all tell something. Well, maybe they not. I don't know. You definitely say something about the mirrors, Master Chen and Alda. Yeah, I can't think about Liao, but I could be going wrong there. Anyway.
Did you want to stop the quiz and guess the theme?
Oh, let us do the next one with 10 questions, but they cannot be. They have to be specific questions. They have to be.
Okay.
It can't be just be with Shenmue 1. They have to be very specific. Can we do that?
Okay. Yeah, do that.
Okay, I'll go first.
So 10 questions.
Have we ever seen this person on a forklift?
No.
Okay, does
Matt?
this person have a job?
She does. Just spoil it.
She does.
Oh, there you go.
Does her job associate with a food?
No. Matt?
Does she sell flowers?
She doesn't.
Well, we just eliminated 2 characters out of 1,000. Good job, Matt. Actually, no, there's plenty of characters that sell flowers. I just can only think of Yumiko and Nozomi. Is she attractive by traditional standards?
I guess it depends who you are.
Ugh,
I wouldn't.
I knew that.
I wouldn't personally say she was attractive, but maybe if you float that way, I don't know.
I knew that question was going to lead to that answer. It's my own fault.
Yeah. So I'll put down
Eye of the
not
beholder.
attractive. Well, I don't know. Maybe she is.
So what have we got?
She's
so
not
far?
Shuing and she's not Nozomi. We'll just say that. We've eliminated 2.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what have we got so far?
So she doesn't have a forklift or seen on a forklift, but she does have a job. It's not a food job, and she doesn't sell flowers. And I, in my opinion, don't think she's attractive.
Does Rio refer to her as gorgeous?
If you say if it's Joy, I'm going to get pretty upset.
No to both of those questions.
Damn.
So, not gorgeous, so it's not Granny, and it's not Joy. I don't know if you intended to have 2 questions then, but...
No, I was just making a joke that if you didn't think Joy was the most attractive female in Shenmue, then and so that.
Well done, George. You got rid of 1 character there. It's not Joy.
Is there a job associated with tailoring or clothing?
No.
Gosh, well, that's the only 3 jobs in Shenmue.
Ooh, that's hard.
Barber as well.
That's
Oh,
really
there's
hard.
female barbers.
Matt, do you want to ask another question, or...
I can't think of anything here. I'm getting...
Well, think of it. Let's just think of it. We're narrowing down the jobs here at this point, Matt. So there's only so many jobs left. It's not food, it's not flowers, and it's not clothing. So we're kind of running low on stuff here for shops.
So I think what else they might sell? Do they sell or work in? No, actually, I'm not going to go down that road because I think it's wrong anyway. Oh, this is hard.
Can you think based off a potential theme?
Yes, I got a question, but
Go for it, George, if you've got a question.
is gambling associated with the shop?
It's not, no.
That's.
No gambling.
I'm starting to struggle now with what it could be.
How many have we got left?
You've got... Well, if you're not doing that Joy thing, you've got 2 questions left.
No, real quick though, I have to clarify. A bar does sell food, so if you say that a bar was not included in the food question, are we right?
Yeah, a bar's not included. I'll give you that caveat.
Oh, I don't know. There's a theme I had in my head. I'm not so sure now.
Ooh, there's another shop I just thought of.
Go for it.
No, it's your turn, Matt. I'll save it for my last question.
I've got to think of something then.
Do you want to do something a bit more broader
Are
to
they
your question, Matt?
in Shenmue 1?
They are in Shenmue 1.
My last question then is their job associated with astrology or fortune telling?
Ooh, not quite. It's not the fortune teller.
You have to get
What?
this
A little
now.
bit of
I'm gonna say
astrology in
I'm
there.
gonna say Harada-san. She sells cigarettes.
It's not her. Matt, do you want to have a stab at the character?
I'm trying to think. Oh,
Shenmue 1 shop, female, and we've eliminated 90% of the shop. So
Yeah. I did give you a little bit of a clue there at the end. It's not a fortune teller, but a little bit of astrology in there. Somewhat.
I just figured out who it is. Then you're right.
I can't work it out. Shit.
Oh, come on, Matt. It's Dreams of Saturn talks about this astrology type aspect of this shop. The Santa-chan is hidden in the one thing that has to do with astrology in that shop. This is going to test
hang
also
on.
Matt's
I've
Dreams of
got
Saturn.
it. Right, hang on. Shit, I can't remember.
Am I
her
right,
name.
James?
It's the lady.
You're right, mate.
In
You don't need to know a name,
antique
just
store.
tell me
the
Well, not
yeah.
the antique store. What's the name of the store, Matt?
Oh, bugger. My brain stopped.
I am so disappointed. And her name isn't associated with the shop name, right?
No?
Because I used to think that the shop name was her name, but it wasn't.
I know what you mean. I feel like I should just give it you anyway, because I know what you're on about.
Matt, it's a country.
Russia,
There
China
we
shop.
Yeah. Rushi China shop, yep.
There
All right,
we
we
go.
got 2.
You got 2. So, Master Chen, Lu Senior, Aldier, Rushi China shop lady, which is like Shu Shui Shui or something. I don't know. George, you might know that one.
No.
Yeah, okay. I've actually got 3 more characters, guys, so let's just rattle through these a little bit now. Let's go back to the 5-question structure, see if you can get who I'm thinking of next.
Yeah.
Matt, do you want to start?
Male or female?
Male?
Do they know martial arts?
They do.
Are they in China?
They're not.
Do they live in Yamanose
Yeah.
or around Yamanose?
Yep.
We got one more question, right?
I mean, technically, when you say around, if I said Sakuroka, would that be around?
Yeah, I'll go
No,
for
I was thinking Yamanose
No.
concluded the dojo, and that's it.
Right, okay. So it's
No.
technically Sakuroka.
Wild stab in the dark. I think it's Yagamishi.
We got one more question, though.
You can nail it down one more, or you can guess if you want, Matt.
Just confirm, does he teach Rio a move?
He does.
No, we got it.
Yeah.
You got it, Matt?
Yagamishi.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Yagamishi-san. Last two characters, guys. Same again. Do you want to start, George?
Let's see.
This is a good one.
Does this person wear a robe?
Does he wear a robe? I would say he does, actually.
Oh, we're done guessing. We know who it is.
Are they in China?
They are. And, well, currently, I guess we don't really know. And when you say China map, does that include Hong Kong, I guess? I don't know.
Yeah, it would
When you were saying that. Okay.
Careful.
So, yes. I know.
Let's see. Are they an enemy?
Oh, God. These questions are actually giving you more clues just in how I'm responding to them. But currently, no.
They wear a robe and they're...
Yuandazu.
Yeah, Matt's got it. I mean, they might be an enemy in the future, but currently they're not.
Or they
It is
were in
Yuandazu.
the past as well. Or
Possibly in the past.
Or they've always been an enemy and they just haven't revealed themselves yet.
Maybe. Yeah. Final character, guys. Matt, you can start.
Male or female?
Male.
Just trying to avoid asking the same questions. Are they a character that is not seen walking the streets?
Yeah, actually, they're not. They're not seen walking the streets.
Oh.
Which is an interesting thing I've never really thought of, to be honest.
Did they meet a WoW?
Yes.
So I was starting to narrow it down somewhere else, and then you said they know you well. I'm kind of back to Shenmue 1 again, because I just feel like Shenmue 2 and 3 you would never... The answer is not, some... Well, here
There's
you go.
a couple, but I know what you mean.
I'm
It's
contradicting
more
myself.
likely to know a WoW in Japan.
Boy, you know EUL. But the thing is, again, knowing EUL is such an ambiguous kind of thing, right? Because the shop owner would probably know EUL.
It's not
Yeah, exactly.
It's not in my head for what I'm thinking. But...
Let's see. Are they at the harbor?
Not at the harbour.
Are we done with questions, or we get one more?
You've got one more question, Matt.
Does Rio interact with them in a cutscene?
Yes.
Can we review the questions we've asked?
So it's a male character. They're not seen walking just around the streets. They've met a WoW at some point, but not at a harbour. And whatever that last question was, I put yes for.
Interact with Rio in a cutscene?
Yeah, interact with Rio in a cutscene.
I think it's Oishi-san.
It is Oishi-san, Matt. Well done.
Who is it?
Yeah.
So, Oishi-san.
Bunkado Antiques.
Antique store, yeah.
Oh, figures. I never put him in Dreams of Saturn, so I never remembered him.
So let's see. So you got Oishi-san, Yuandazu, Yamagishi-san. You got the Rushy China shop lady in the end. I think you said Aliyah, didn't you? That one. So that you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 7 characters correct.
That's not bad.
You want to have a stab at the link that I've got between them all? So Master Chen, Liu Senior, Aldier, Rushy China shop lady, Yamagishi-san, Yuandazu, and Oishi-san.
They all tell Rio something about the mirrors.
Correct, Matt. Well done.
Ah.
Yeah, that's the way.
Very good. And hey, Matt, I forgot to tell you, I entered the Hong Kong Tea Association lottery, where one lucky winner gets a year's supply of tea, and I won chai.
Oh my god.
Congratulations. Or is that a joke?
Thank you. A year's supply of chai. Yeah.
Oh dear.
I was about to commend you for being such a kind person, too.
Thank you, George. Well, I commend you guys for nailing the quiz anyway. I guess that wraps up this year's Christmas special, guys. It's been a decent year, actually, for Shenmue. Well, more decent towards this tail end than at the start, right? At the start, we kind of didn't know what was going to happen with the Shenmue series, and now we've reached December and things are looking very positive.
Very up and down, isn't it? I think we started the year with a bit of a lull. That's probably the way I'd say it. Then your interview with Switch over at Wisenet with Yu Suzuki, which I'm still eternally grateful for, which obviously we published in May.
That was amazing.
I think that was a catalyst, I think, for then the community waking up and getting behind the tweetathons properly, which I think as we've trended 8 months in a row now, it's got bigger and bigger and bigger, which is testament to everybody who has got behind it. And I think then it sort of we had a bit of a wobble, didn't we? I guess sort of towards sort of October time where we're not quite sure what's going on, and then in obviously coming along as the publisher for Shenmue 3 out of nowhere, sort of really spiked things up again. And I think we go into 2025 with a community that's strong, that's united, and one that I think is pushing in the right direction for 2025. I think we're in a good position for Shenmue, hopefully next year. Funny things happen. It's always with Shenmue. I said this a few weeks ago in another show. We can never predict Shenmue news. It just happens. Comes out of nowhere. Nobody knows about it. Bam, there you go.
Which is good in a sense.
Yeah, it does keep us on our toes. The recent news is obviously testament to that. But it was remiss of me to say, without the community, all the community groups, each individual member of the community getting behind the hashtag Let's Get Shenmue 4 and pushing as hard as they have done, I don't think we would be where we are today. And I know people have been kind and saying the dojo's done this, the dojo's done that, which is great, but it's a united effort from everybody. And if we're not united in that effort, it falls on deaf ears. But actually, I would commend everybody in the Shenmue community for pushing as hard as they have, because I think we've made some real steps this year. Interested to see what the end of year message from Yu Suzuki is going to be like as well. See what comes out in that. And I'm sure we'll do an end of year review, won't we, where we'll look at everything in detail as we hit 2025.
Yeah, definitely, Matt. And just something you mentioned in there about when I went to Japan and I did that interview with Switch with Yu Suzuki, something popped in my head then. I wanted to get this in the show. I wanted to ask you, George. Obviously, you went to Japan a few months back now. Could you tell us a little bit about that trip? I know you met up with quite a few different people from Shenmue circles, like Osamu Murata.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about that? Like, what was those experiences like for you?
Oh yeah, it was great. It was 100 degrees every day. I don't ask me to give you the Celsius on that, but it was
hot.
Yeah. So I just I reached out to people and I said, "Hey, you want to meet up?" And they said yes. I think that the Shenmue people are accessible, but nobody ever asks. I'm not going to ask everybody to bombard them now, but I did meet Osamu Murata, and we had breakfast and talked about all the music he composed, and he wrote most of the Grayling tracks, and it surprised me how much he had composed. I would say he composed more music than anybody in the series. And
does sound like it, yeah.
Yeah, him and his son, I got to hang out with both of them. He's such a humble guy, man, I should say. He's just a good person and very humble about everything that he's ever accomplished. And we just sat in his music studio, played the piano, and talked about Shenmue music.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible, isn't it, though?
Yeah.
That is like an experience that you just, out of body experience, that would feel like for me. Like, it just doesn't make sense that a game that you played as a child or, a teenager, and it resonated so much with you that you now sat in the room of a person that composed some of the music that you fell in love with is a magical moment, really.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that I was happy that he said, "Hey, why don't you try playing some stuff?" And so now my hand's freezing on a piano as someone was watching me play. I can't say I had my best performance ever on piano, but it was a great day. And then I got to meet Robert Jefferson, who was Ewell's voice, and another.
He's a lovely guy, too.
It was we got into a lot of deep conversation. I didn't think we were going to go on the subjects we did, but he talked about a lot of stuff about life in general and his experiences in Japan. He's a foreigner, and he's lived there for so many years now, for almost, I think, 35 years.
Oh, wow. It's a long time.
He's an American, but he's now lived in Japan that long, and he's been a news anchor there forever. And so he's had a great life. And Ewell is on his radar of accomplishments. I would say they don't show up in conversation when he talks about his most proudest moments. Because it was a one-day gig in a studio, and he moved on to the next thing.
Yeah, well, iconic voice.
Yeah, so I met with Eric Kelso, of course. So I see him every time I go to Japan. And another great person, and we drank together, and we had shabu shabu, and spent a lot of money.
Karaoke?
Karaoke, no.
Oh, okay.
Refused. And then I met with Ryuichi Hasegawa, who was worked for Sega for many years, did a lot of the translation work. He did the lyrics for every Burning Ranger song you ever heard. He chose the names of the songs for Nights into Dreams.
No way.
On the soundtrack, he chose the names for all those songs. So after the Dream Nights, Nights, and all the other songs. The Dragon Gave a Loud Scream, which is the boss theme. These were names he had to come up with in English because he was the best English speaker. And he also went to college for English, so he's had a funny career of a lot of things. He was the executive producer for Horizon Zero Dawn, a game I've never
wow.
played.
Oh, wow. Didn't know that.
Great game. Amazing game.
Yeah, but when he told me that, I was just like, that's the game I know, and I don't follow those games, but that shocked me to hear him say that. But of course, he says it humbly and kind of like off the cuff, like it's no big deal, because it's his job. And of course, I met with Yu Suzuki and had dinner with him, and that was it's the third time I've had dinner with him, so I'm not going to say I was in complete shock at the moment. Not that I ever want to say that I'm comfortable with Yu Suzuki as like we're some like we're compatriots or best friends. Of course, I geek out every time I see him, and I don't want to have an ego, so I'm not going to sit there and pretend like I didn't.
I think some people you can't not act like that too. Yu Suzuki's like the biggest video gaming star to us, so you're going to be shell shocked every time, aren't you? Almost.
But there's an element of respect in Japan for people like Yu Suzuki, business executives and people in his position are treated with utmost respect, and if you don't show that respect, you can get in big trouble. So I'm not going to say I was uncomfortable with him, but I always had to make sure that I wasn't asking questions that were not my position to ask, or pat him on the shoulder and say, "Hey, buddy, how are you?"
Right.
Yeah.
That's just not something you do in Japan. So even though the formalities are not 100% there, you still have to show the formalities at times and be polite, or else you can make him upset. And last thing you want is to cut a relationship like that off.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting when you think about that kind of thing. It's like, it's difficult to know what Yu Suzuki is expecting. Is he expecting you to be completely that formal, or on, say, the third time having dinner with him, are you expected to be a bit more laugh and jokey with him and a bit more friendly? It's like, where is the sort of cut-off point in that culture? It's, I suppose the more you experience that culture, the more you'll realise. But for me, just thinking as a foreigner sat in a chair in Stoke, it's like I don't know where the point is where that you can start just willy-nilly messaging these people as though they're friends rather than business associates almost.
The problem is, what if he's thinking this whole time, why is George being so polite? I wish he would stop.
Yeah, that is it, isn't it? That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, maybe he's thinking like,
it's like, just drop it already. You're annoying how polite you're being. And here I am,
but like you say, you don't want to offend him either, do you? So you don't want to step outside that comfort zone almost.
Yeah, but it's like when I go to a water puddle that we're walking in the rain, and he looks at me, and I fall to my knees, take off my jacket, put it on the ground so he can walk over it. That was kind of disrespectful of him, but just kidding.
I know you are. It's funny.
But the audience might not.
Any other interesting things you could tell us or not?
Oh, I met some loser. He goes by the name of Switch, I think. He just kept following me around everywhere, and I was like, dude, just take a hint. No, he took me to Took me to Dubuita.
I was going to say, did you go to Dubuita? Yeah.
Yeah, Brett and I we got hamburgers at an American hamburger place run by nothing but Japanese people. And as an American, I took offense to it immediately. And then I ate the hamburger and I said, why don't we have this in the United States? Because this is much better than what I'm used to. So
I suppose when you're used to like McDonald's and stuff, yeah.
Well, honestly, it's like there's something good about an egg on a hamburger for me, and Americans will scoff at an egg on a hamburger. But I think it's a smart decision, and why not get your cholesterol up even further? So they do it well. And obviously, Japanese chefs, cooks, or fast food, their pride in their food and the way that they treat it is it's nothing like here. A lot of our workers here, well, it's a job. In Japan, they take it very serious. Just watch the movie Tampopo if you want to ever see the Japanese culture and how seriously they take food.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's really about it. I think I met with somebody else too, but they had nothing to do with Sega. They were with Game Arts and Camelot Studios back in the 90s. Shingo-san. I don't know if you remember Camelot from the 90s or Sega Sonic Software Planning. He worked on a game called Shining Wisdom.
Oh yeah, Sega Saturn era.
Shining Force 1. Shining
yeah.
the Holy Ark, anything in the Shining series he worked on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool to see him too. I was told that I was possibly going to meet Naofumi Hataya, who composed Sonic CD and a bunch of other Sonic music and a lot of the Sega soundtracks of the 90s, but it didn't work out. So
Maybe next time, eh?
maybe. But I'm very lucky, and I'm very happy that I get to have those chances, of course. And these aren't my people who are my friends who are, sought me out. I beg them to hang out with me, and then I show off on Facebook that I'm a celebrity. And like, yeah, they called me up, and I said, yeah, I'll make time for you guys. That's how I present it, right?
For sure, mate.
But no,
Yeah.
they do me a favor by meeting up with me and letting me come by. So I'm very grateful for that.
Sounds like a wonderful trip, man. Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
I'd say once in a lifetime, but I'm sure it'll happen again sometime. And like I was about to say, Matt, we'll have to get you over at some point to Japan.
Yeah, it'll be a while, I think, with my life events going on as well at the moment. But
True.
maybe in a few years when things settle down a little bit, and I do want to get out there at some stage just to do the pilgrimage, if anything else. And then I've always wanted to do Japan as a general thing, but the pilgrimage to Buita, I don't know, I feel obliged to after all these years.
Bucket list.
Yeah, bucket list.
Right, guys, let's wrap up today's show then, Matt. Do you want to finish us with the typical Matt outro?
Here comes the usual spiel that one day I am going to record and drop in so I never have to say it ever again. But there we go. So thank you to everybody who's dropped in on the content, not just today, but across the year. It's been a brilliant year, hard in parts, but I think we're moving forward. Thank you to everyone who's dropped in on the content, the videos, the website, the forums, the social media. Anywhere and everywhere that you found the dojo content is much appreciated by James and I. If you want to be a member, you can be for £2 a month. You can grab a membership on YouTube. You get all the videos on there ahead of time. Or you can go on, is it Ko-fi as well? And you can make a donation towards the dojo as well. It all goes towards the running the site, running the competitions that James and I put together as well. And we just reinvest everything back into giving you guys as much content as we possibly can. You can find us on X, or Twitter is Shenmue_Dojo, Facebook Shenmue Dojo, Instagram Shenmue Dojo, Twitch Shenmue Dojo, Blue Sky ShenmueDojo.com over there, and on YouTube Shenmue Dojo VOD. And you can find our website ShenmueDojo.com and the forums at ShenmueDojo.com/forums. And we also have a Discord server if you want to drop in there for live Shenmue chat. You'll find James and I in there quite regularly.
Very good, very good. And George, if anyone wanted to reach out to you like you did to all these people in Japan, how would one go about doing that?
I don't know.
Or just don't.
Discord, I guess I'm hanging around all the time, or
Yeah, true. Actually, you are on Discord quite a lot.
or I guess you can send me a message on Twitter if you want, or whatever it's called, X. I guess so. Just let me release the game first.
Yeah,
I'm trying to fix all these bugs right now, so just let me finish the game before you ask me questions.
Okay, we'll do. And everyone, definitely check out George's upcoming game. You can check out the first release now, but I would urge everyone just to sort of hold fire for a couple of weeks.
Yes, nobody touch the old one, please. It's terrible.
Yeah, just saying, it is an option, but definitely wait for Dreams of Saturn 2.0, where you can play the full experience, which includes the first stuff as well, and all of the latest content there that George has been working on tirelessly by the sounds of it to get this out to us before Christmas. And I do want to wish everyone Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, whichever you do celebrate. Thank you for sticking with us for the whole year. Season 4 wrapped up. But yeah, it's been a good year. It's getting better by the minute, and especially with George's game that's going to come out. It's definitely going to be a great end to December. Oh, hey Matt, did you hear about that new toilet stall that just opened up in Langwishan?
What's that?
Apparently there's a sign just outside that says, "This way to Bailu."
Oh my god.
Right, guys, take care. We'll see you in the new year.
See you in the new year, guys. Take care.
Happy holidays. See ya.
Ah, look at the time.